Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. We educate, we enlighten, we entertain. And on this episode, unless we get historical, we're going to continue talking about Trump's tariffs. And the most important question going on with that is who's going to pay for all this money? Trump tells us the foreign countries who he's levied these tariffs on. But CBS News, David Paq, P-A-Q-U-E, disagrees. And in his article, he says that the potential President Donald Trump has made his feelings about tariffs and revenge very clear. To him, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. I think it's more beautiful than love. I love tariffs. Music to my ears. Well, let me tell you something. Whatever music you like to listen to, it's certainly not going to be music to your ears because we're the ones paying the bill on these tariffs. So what is a tariff? It's a tax. According to Dartmouth economics professor Doug Irwin, in U.S. history, and I quote, we're basically only talking about import tariffs on imported goods coming into the U.S. He says that governments have all kinds of reason for introducing tariffs. Sometimes it's to reduce the trade deficit. Sometimes it's to punish other countries. Sometimes it's to bring back jobs. And sometimes it's just to punish for the unfair trade practices that everyone, including the US of A, practices. Sometimes it's to raise revenue so that we can cut income taxes. But the most fundamental, a tariff works like this. Suppose we import a product from China. The price is $50. But before you can buy it, our government adds $25 to that price. Your final price is $75. China gets its $50, and the extra $25 winds up going into the U.S. Treasury. But who in reality is really paying for these tariffs? According to Trump, it's the other countries. Trillions and trillions of dollars will pour into the United States Treasury. Is his description of what happens. China paid hundreds of billions of dollars during my term. I think economics would say that's very misleading to say that that's what's going on. Of course, it's the U.S. consumers that are paying those tariffs, not China itself. China's not writing checks to the U.S. government, but we are. It's a transfer of money from consumers, that's us, to the federal government, an additional tax. Not to count the taxes taken from our paychecks, from Social Security, from Medicare, you name it, there's a tax. And now we're going to have an extra tax, Mr. Trump's taxes on tariffs. You won't see the rich doing it, just us poor people, because we're going to pay more than $2,600 extra in taxes for Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, tariffs have been a part of international trade since our country was founded. The first one was opposed by George Washington. And what we've learned from history is that they often have unintended consequences, sort of like the Friends of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty, the terrorist group. We have a tariff on sugar that has doubled the price of sugar. It has helped out our sugarcane farmers in Louisiana and Florida, but it's also driven 34% of American chocolate and candy manufacturer and their jobs out of the country. Well, then there was Trump's 25% tariff on imported steel in 2018. Our steel makers thrive, but companies that made things out of steel like Ford, GM, Caterpillar suffered, just as Ford's then CEO Jim Hackett, who in 2018 told Bloomberg, quote, the metal tariffs took about $1 billion of profit from us. If it goes on longer, there will be more damage. Hello, is there an oxymoron going on here? That's not what Trump said was going to happen during his campaign promises. He said he was going to make the other country pay, not us, not loss of jobs. Steel, that's its backbone to the United States as coal mining is. And P.S., tariffs just don't raise prices on the imported stuff. They can affect the price of domestic substitutes as well. Substitutes, alternatives to what we can't afford to buy from all those countries we have tariffs on. So, for example, if there's a tariff on imported steel and I'm an American steelmaker, I can optically say, well, hey, now I can raise my prices too. Absolutely, says Irwin. Consumers don't have the choice anymore. They can buy the really high price steel or they can buy you. Finally, there's that retaliation problem. When we imposed the steel tariffs, the European Union and China got very upset with us, Irwin said. And what did they do? The nerves of some countries. They raised tariffs on American farm goods. So all of a sudden, American farmers who had nothing to do with the steel per se found their sales limited overseas. Even Ronald Reagan could have told you that. In fact, he did in 1987. Reagan retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. Gosh, people, it sounds like a monopoly. So exactly what has Trump proposed? During his campaign, he promised as president he would phase in a system of universally baseline tariffs. Originally, he outlined tariffs across the board, every product and every category from our country in the world. We're going to charge them 10 to 20%, he said. Now, every recent president has favored some kind of tariffs. The Biden administration, for example, maintained some of the tariffs from Trump's first term. Bet you didn't know that. And imposed its own 100% tariff on Chinese electric cars. But these tariffs have always targeted particular categories of products. And across the board tariff, that's not targeting a particular commodity or product. That's not targeting a particular country. Irwin said, it's just saying all imports, all sources get hit with this tax. That's a very different type of tariff. And wouldn't we then notice prices going up on everything? We would definitely notice. More recently, Trump has proposed double-digit tariffs on everything imported from Mexico, Canada, and China. They would raise the price we pay for things like fruit. Yeah, fruit. Lumber, electronics. Oh my gosh, we're addicted to our electronics. Oil. Oh my God, he doesn't believe in climate change, so he's going to resurrect oil and gas. Whoa. Medicine. Well, maybe it doesn't affect him, but it sure affects me and a couple of thousand other people I know. Metal and beef. Well, I don't eat red meat, so I'm okay there. Studies have calculated that those tariffs will cause 1% of all American jobs, according to the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Raise average car prices by $3,000, according to Wolf Research, and cost every American household at least $1,000 a year, according to Yale Budget Lab. Well, but transition leader Howard Lutnick predicts that his boss won't tax imported goods for which there are no American-made alternatives. Well, since we've lost most of our factories, that ought to be very interesting now, shouldn't it? Back in September, Lutnick told CNBC Tariffs are an amazing tool by the president to use, but he understands. Don't tariff stuff we don't make. Well, that's about 99% of everything we have in this country. I don't want to put the price up. No, he doesn't want a coup d'etat. But maybe Trump has no intention of opposing the tariffs for real. Maybe he's playing a strategic game, tariffs as negotiating tactics. Well, from the people he's been speaking to lately, I don't know about that. Tariffs can be used as a threat and a bargaining chip. Is that like using the nuclear bomb? If you don't let me invade all the countries I want and add them on to Russia, I'm going to nuke the hell out of you? If you're really credible, just making the threat of a tariff is enough to bring another country to change its policy in a way that you desire without you actually having to impose the tariff in the end. As that what Putin is doing by threatening us with thermonuclear war and changing his law to use nukes in the Ukraine and finding a new ally that agrees with him they have the right to keep on making nuclear weapons and to use them should they feel threatened. Gosh, you almost could say that while they're not identical twins, you could say that Putin and Trump are fraternal twins. In the end, when a government wants to achieve some economic or geopolitical goal, and that's what both of these men are doing, it can use all kinds of different tools: subsidies, tax breaks or penalties, trade agreements, regulations, certification, investment incentives, and diversification. According to Doug Irwin, tariffs are a powerful tool too. They're just really the best one. What economics have concluded is that tariffs usually have a lot of unintended consequences, can lead to blowback or other countries retaliate against you, and so are not a really good policy instrument for achieving goals that we all Americans want to achieve. Why doesn't that make me feel better? And you can reach Douglas A. Irwin, a professor of economics at Dartmouth College. I want to thank you all very much for joining us. Soon we'll be installing software that will make it possible for people to call in and to ask questions or voice their opinions. And we will let you know as soon as everything is installed and set up. Thank you very much for listening. This show was sponsored by 3 companies: Ruby AI, http:// with Lillian.com. It's a no-brainer. Take a look, run your fingers through the demo, sign up for a monthly investment. It's what you put into it. But like freedom, once you have it, you'll never want to let it go. Passionate World Talk Radio presents The Obstacles of Podcast Training. You can start as young as 4 or 5 years old if you want. You can use it in your kids' homeschooling for educational curriculum. Also, middle school, high school, colleges, universities, junior colleges, trade schools, tech schools. Use it. Find your voice. Get yourself heard. Go to https://educate.passionateworldtalkradio.com/masterclass. Shy? Text me at 484-384-1032 or leave an audio message. Better yet, send an email, pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com. And the third one, we helped you get your memoirs written so you can tell the world, become part of history, your country's history, the world's history. They need to hear from all of us, not just the political leaders who keep on making the same old worry mistakes. And if you want to find another way, instead of going directly to YouTube, go over to passionateworldtalkradio.com, scroll down to State of Current Affairs, click on it. It takes you to a page. A Google link is provided, and click on that. It'll take you into the belly of the beast, YouTube, and you can watch all your favorite podcasts, including Lest We Forget Historical with your host, Lillian Cauldwell. Thank you very much for listening. Call to action. You want this station to continue? For $5 a month, you can hear everything, hear the truth, and only but the truth from our host. So come in and join the community.